It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill, and today we want to talk about, I feel like this is always like at the core of a lot of the conversations we have, but so many women say, I'm doing everything right and I don't know why X, Y, and Z is not happening. And so often we feel like because we're thinking about something or obsessive about something or checking a bunch of boxes, that because we are doing things that we should be getting something out of it. But a lot of the times you're not doing the things that actually yield the result that you're looking for. And I think a lot of times too, that it's sometimes not even like consciously connecting the dots. I think it's like these beliefs or these habits or these things that we don't realize don't serve us anymore are so ingrained in our heads and in our day-to-day life that we have to sometimes unravel those things first before we can implement the new stuff and the stuff that's actually going to get you what you want. So this whole episode today is the power of unlearning, which is, I think, overlooked a lot of times. And with client check-ins, sometimes, actually, I feel like most of the time, Jess, you can tell me your thoughts on this, but I feel like sometimes when clients have this type of pattern in place, they do not realize it. And then I'll say a couple check-ins in, hey, I noticed that X, Y, and Z has come up for you these last couple of weeks, or you seem to have really negative language around this thing. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was like okay to give myself permission to do that, or permission to be more flexible, or permission to do X, Y, and Z. So it's not, we don't even realize it a lot of the times that we have these habits that don't serve us anymore because we've just been doing them for so long. So we want to talk about unlearning being sometimes more powerful than learning a new skill. So,
and a lot of that is how we're spending the first several months with our clients during our muscle building or our reverse dieting phase. So many women are coming to us because they've spent years and years and years dieting, often saying like, oh yeah, it worked last time I did it. And it's like, well, then why is there another time then, right? If you keep gaining it back, it's not working. So they're coming to us with these patterns and we're spending months learning how to add food. They've always been taught to restrict food. Learning how to add strength instead of try to burn more calories in the gym. They've always thought they have to sweat more or burn more calories. So we're doing these things, adding weight. I actually today, so the day of us recording this is not the day you're going to hear this. Maybe I can go in, I'll share it in my highlight reels or something. Today on my Instagram story, I just shared pictures of 6 clients that are current clients of mine who all are the same weight or more, but look leaner. And there's maybe 1 or 2 who look about the same, but they went from eating like 1,300 calories to eating 2,500 calories. Like, it's insane. And I put context under each of them. What ends up happening is the doing of it is what causes the unlearning, right? We can talk to you guys about this stuff all day long, but somebody's not going to believe me until they actually see it for themselves in their own body. So what ends up happening is week over week, I had this conversation with a client yesterday where she's up 9 pounds in 6 months and she is freaking out. And then I pull up her pictures and I'm like, dude, you look the same because you've put on muscle. And look at this, your inches are actually down, right? So we're looking at data. And what ends up happening is the data unwinds those past beliefs that, oh no, if the scale goes up, scale equals bad, right? You start to learn, oh, there's good weight and there's bad weight, right? If I'm gaining muscle weight, that's good weight. If I'm losing body fat weight, okay, that's good loss, right? If I'm losing muscle, then that's bad loss. So we're starting to differentiate and learn, and they don't even know it's happening. But what ends up happening is our clients end up not being scared of bread anymore and carbs. They end up not being nervous and getting anxiety every time the scale fluctuates. One day they'll message us and say, oh, the scale's just up because I had a high sodium dinner. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll be down tomorrow. And they're logicking themselves out of this because they fully understand the big picture at some point. So this episode is all about the power of unlearning, because again, a lot of women are working their butts off. They're working really, really hard, but they're not doing the most important things. And we need to unlearn these things that's really bad advice that's out there in the fitness industry that has conditioned all of us women to think, okay, we have to always get smaller. We have to always burn more calories. We have to work harder. We have to train more days a week. We have whatever the thing is, right? We have to weigh less to feel good and confident in our skin and our clothes. All of those things are the things that we want to unlearn. So most of this episode is the mental piece, I think, and about like, okay, the doing of it is what actually changes the beliefs, not just us telling you. But also I have some physical stuff in there. Like I talked about this recently on an Instagram post with a video, side-by-side videos of me squatting in 2018. I had already been a trainer in person full time, and my squat form was absolute crap compared to what it is today. It's way easier to learn the basics and layer in new things over time than it is to unlearn crappy old patterns, right? It's doable, but it takes a lot of time. It's not an overnight thing, right? Like if you've been dieting for 20 years, reversing that is probably going to take more than a month, right? So if you come to us and you're like, well, yeah, I built, I'm ready for a cut again. It's like, okay, well, cool. Like this is your journey, but do you really want to just go back to what you've been doing? Like, why'd you hire us then? If you just want to do it your way, essentially, So anyway, that is my long ass intro to this episode.
Yeah. So I think the like mental side of things is that, especially with social media, we're so inundated with so much information and it's conflicting. I just posted on my story the other day about how like I was scrolling and it's like hormones, you need this. And the next post was like, you don't need to check your hormones because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, dear God, no wonder everyone is confused. But we have there's this like concept psychologically called belief perseverance, where we like cling to these beliefs, even when there's evidence to prove it wrong. But I think that it's actually interesting. A client sent me this message recently where she was basically talking about like I had to make a choice because my email was talking about how doing nothing is also a choice and not changing anything is a choice. And like I say this all the time, but like obviously we all know definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? And she was like, I realized I was choosing to do nothing and to not change anything. And I think when we get caught up in like the word hormones, because it's such a buzzword right now, I think it's such a buzzword because it's an excuse almost, right? It's this thing that I can say, whew, okay, all of this trouble I'm having, all of this hardship, all of this lack of results, I now have this external thing I can blame it on. And again, if you've been listening to us, you know our perspective on that I'm not saying hormones aren't a problem or aren't a factor or aren't making things more difficult for you, but when we create that belief, you'll see that TikTok and you're like, oh my God, this is me, right? Like full on like WebMD diagnosing yourself with something. And then you start to look for proof to validate that belief. Like it might not even be true, right? Like I have women come to me saying, I have high cortisol and I have this and I have this and I have this. And I'm like, great, what testing did you get done? Well, I didn't get testing. I just know. And it's like, they are so like doubling down that is their problem. And it's funny, a woman signed up recently and she was like, I have had a Dutch test in my cart for months. And she's like, I just want to find something. And I realized that I am looking for a way out or an excuse to just not do the things that I know you're going to make me do. And that's why I know I need a coach, because I need to just stop with my own bullshit.
Good for her.
Yeah. And I was like, that's really good proof of this like cycle that we get in with our beliefs in this. We have to have the ability to let go of those things that maybe that belief did serve a purpose for you at one point in life, right? But now it doesn't align with what you're doing or what you're looking for, what your goals are. And we're stuck in doing, right? So that's that like having cognitive flexibility and being able to not just constantly seek more information or seek more validation, but questioning what you actually believe is true and accurate.
And looking at evidence, not just feelings.
Yeah. So like, what are you holding on to because it feels safe and comfortable in what you've done and what you know, even if it's holding you back? And that's a really good journal prompt, because sometimes if you just like brain dump something along those lines, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I do this every single day and it doesn't even serve me. I don't even like doing it. It's like clients who are like, I run because I feel like I have to, like I feel like I have to burn calories, and then we tell them they don't have to and they're like, oh thank God, like I hate running,
But at first they cling to it because they're like, no, but I think I have to for weight loss. And we're like,
yeah,
I know you don't believe me, but give me 3 months. Like I know you don't. And then 3 months later they're like, whoa, this is why. Again, they don't believe us until they see it in their own body.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we also kind of resist unlearning. We talked about this, like there's a part of you when anytime you change that, like, it's like a sad thing that you have to let go of this last version of you. It's like death to this old version of yourself. So there's this piece of self-protection that we have of stuff that's comfortable, right? So there's also that of like, any change is hard because it's new. You haven't done it yet, right? You shouldn't have to be good at it. And you probably will be a little uncomfortable when you're doing change, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a negative change. So when you cling to those old beliefs, you end up in those same patterns over and over and over again, yo-yoing, or every time you see the scale go up, you go back to a diet and okay, now we're back in the same place. And we have clients who are still battling that with themselves. And like our job is to say, okay, I'm going to give you the options and I'm going to tell you my recommendation as a professional that you hired me for, right? At the end of the day, it's your life, right? And some of them say, okay, I get it. I hear what you're saying, but I'm still going to drop down, or I'm still going to go on. I have a client right now. I'm still going to go on Ozempic and just drop down right now. And I'm like, okay, well, we haven't learned how to maintain at higher calories. Like, unfortunately, I don't think your money spent on coaching right now. Like, she's coaching with me and we're working on controlling what we can, right? And maybe focusing more on food quality, focusing on strength. But it makes me sad in my heart because I know that she's going back to the same pattern that she'd before versus, okay, if we can learn how to keep it off the right way, wow, you're going to set future you up so much where you don't have this restrict type cycle anymore.
And I feel like this spills into every area of life. Like if you think about like the fear of quitting a job you've been at for a long time because it's comfortable and you're like, well, I hate it and it sucks and I don't want to get out of bed every day, but like, I don't know what my alternative is. And that is our body's job, is to try to keep us safe, even if it doesn't serve us, right, in the long run. So it can be dysfunctional relationships, dysfunctional patterns, eating on the couch every night at 9 o'clock because you air quote deserve it, right? Like you make these choices because you're like, well, I don't know what my alternative is. And that maybe lack of clarity feels scarier to you than being stuck
in comfort,
dysfunctional pattern forever.
But it's dysfunction that you're comfortable with because you know what to
you're
expect.
So used to it.
Yeah,
it's all
it's like
know.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah,
we have this little baby duck, guys, that we've incubated and it just hatched. And every day I get this little baby duck and it's terrified of me, right? I pick him up and I bring him down to they're really social animals. It needs to go back to its people. We have other ducks and I bring it down to introduce it to the other ducks and it just runs back to me and I'm like, this is not good for you. Like you're coming back to me because I'm all you know. You're going to thrive out there on this pond, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, psychology wise, we cling to what's comfortable, even if it's not necessarily optimal. So again, if you are choosing to hire a professional, you're hiring that professional for a reason. If you revert back to what you've always been doing, you're only self-destructing and not getting the most out of that time or that investment of your money.
Well, and even if like you mentioned the scale, right? Like clients, like women will be like, I know I need to reverse diet, and they'll do it. And they're like, no, my body didn't respond well because the scale went up. And I'm like, hold on, you wanted evidence of that. So you can say my body's broken. This doesn't work because you don't want to do the work that is required for you to unlearn all of these beliefs, all of these habits that don't serve you, constantly restricting. And it's like this almost a little bit of like a victim mentality, right? Where you're like, it works for everyone else, but not for me. And I'm like, I love challenging that thought when women come to me. Well, what if this doesn't work for me? Well, you are not biologically different than any other woman that I've worked with. The only women that come to us and don't get results are the ones that don't do what we say. And I'm not saying it's my way or the highway, right? But like, don't follow what we're recommending is best for your body, or they go rogue or they ghost or they quit because it got a little bit hard.
Because it's scary or mentally scary. Like, the ones that come to mind for me are people who end up, so one, you could gain weight and your inches stay the same or actually go lower. Mm-hmm. Again, our job as coaches is to show you the data and show you like, look, your pant size hasn't gone up, your inches are the same, your pictures look the same. Great, that means it's good weight, right? So that's the one scenario. The other scenario is it's not working because they're not hitting their protein goals. They're not getting their lifts in. So these extra calories are going towards body fat instead of muscle mass, right? That's the inputs that are required, right? If you're going to increase your calories, you also need to eat enough protein and you need to strength train so that those calories are going towards your muscle. So if the reverse didn't work for you, at every single step, we're doing little audits and saying like, okay, well, here's why, and here's what you can reel in. Do you want to do that or not? So anyway, the process done right, it will work.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is like the most common area, right, that our clients need to unlearn is they'll check in and they could have like the best vibe in a message exchange the day before. And then they weigh in. And if it went up even half a pound, the vibe of their whole check-in, even if they had a great week mentally, physically, emotionally, will be negative. Not all the time, but it can be because they saw the scale go up. And then that's what happens in the early stages of coaching. And then as we give them like, hey, these are the markers we're looking at, and this is why your week was actually really successful. And like, if you noticed, your stress has been a 7 for 4 weeks in a row, and now you're trending down at like a 4 every week, and your sleep is this, right? So we start to point those things out and like, hey, body composition, you just told me you're getting stronger. I noticed your deadlifts went up 40 pounds in this last month or whatever. And your inches are the same, but the scale is up a little bit. That's okay. We talk about daily scale fluctuations, and we are helping them unlearn that belief that the scale is the only marker for success or failure. And they realize, oh, I can't believe I was clinging to this thing that is actually so irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. And that's like definitely a common area for our clients specifically, obviously, generally speaking, the biggest one with women. But like,
and I think explaining the whys, like us as I would say good coaches, educating clients on what is happening. Why did the scale go up? Oh, well, because you had some alcoholic drinks this weekend and that causes us to retain water, right? Oh, even though your food was dialed in, you didn't have any additional alcohol or sodium or something. It's the week before your cycle. Or maybe we changed up your lifting routine and you're extra sore, so your muscles are inflamed. Guess what? That's good inflammation that our body's going to adapt to. So educating along the way, then you start to see it logically versus emotionally. It's not just, I'm not just saying, oh, go trust any coach who's like, it's okay, weight gain's fine. It's like, well, time out. What is it good or bad weight gain, right? And then our job is to kind of parse that out and say, okay, here's why it might be good or neutral. Here's why maybe you do need to reel it in because we're gaining extra body fat. And here's the data that shows us what we can change.
And that's a conversation we're having like over and over with the same clients until it clicks or shifts or whatever all the time. But it's the scale. And then the other one that we see very commonly is that we associate like calories burned or how hard we're working or sweating or muscle soreness with that effort in the gym and feeling like we have to leave crawling out of the gym for it to yield the result that we're looking for. And it's same thing. It's like so irrelevant in the grand scheme of things for the result that women are actually looking to get from us. And a lot of times, like in early stages, I mean, we prepare clients and explain these things, but we'll have clients that will occasionally say like, should I shorten my rest period? Like I'm not taught. I don't.
These aren't hard enough.
And it's like
hard enough. I'm used to doing harder workouts. And okay, well, do you want it to feel harder in that moment, or do you want it to be more effective? What's most important to you? Again, if you enjoy a super high intensity workout, cool. Do it for fun. Do it for heart health. But it's not more effective for muscle building or fat loss. The factors that we are looking at are how many hard sets are we hitting per muscle group per week. Are we progressing in those lifts, right? If you take shorter rest periods, you're not going to be able to lift as heavy on that subsequent rest. What are those movement patterns looking like? Are you just doing a poor half-ass squat, or are you actually improving the movement pattern? That's going to improve time under tension for that. A lot of times, so we're looking at all these little dials that we're going to change, right? Somebody's daily steps is a factor I can manipulate, right? If we go into a deficit, I can easily get them burning more calories without reducing their calories in their food by just increasing steps a little. We're looking at all the whole big picture together, right? So we've had people who are like prior bodybuilders and like super fit women, right? To anybody, they would be like, oh, they must work out, right? They come to us saying, hey, we're stuck. And we actually dial back intensity, but we improve the effectiveness of the programming and have them lifting 4 days a week, not 5 or 6, taking longer rests. The first couple months, they're like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then their body composition actually changes in a favorable way and they're shocked. But it's because we're pulling back some of the stress signals. We're dialing, again, we're playing with all these dials at once. We're not only playing the calories in, calories out game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that concept of unlearning, like you said, and obviously we're coaches and we have a program, whatever, and people are just going to be like, oh, you're just selling this. But doing that on your own is very difficult. It can be done, and we'll obviously go through the process of like what it takes to unlearn, but sometimes like we're stubborn as humans, and being like called out on your shit is hard enough for people, but then having enough awareness and logic to call yourself out on shit and have the awareness, but also then acknowledge the pattern and then learn how to change it and accept that failure is going to happen. It's not going to be perfect and whatever. Like it's very difficult, right? Like people talk about even like a cup of coffee. I remember when I had to cut out caffeine for the first time because of cortisol issues, I was like over my dead body because I literally enjoyed the act of coffee. I like literally driving to the store and I like getting it and I like buying myself something, like all of these little like dopamine hits in the process. And I realized like I had this like obsession with it. And I was like, this actually isn't serving me. Like, why am I so obsessed with something that's actually not good for me? And it was really hard to like break that awareness. And I was like, I'll never be able to do this. And then I think I went without caffeine for like over 12 months straight. I have it now, but I'm obviously a lot more responsible with it. But it's just little things like that that you don't even realize are negative to you. And I saw a post recently on Facebook, and sure, it's in a very large macro group, and people were talking about the woman's question was about the carnivore diet. And she was like, don't we need like fiber and fruits and veggies though? And this woman commented, and I was like, I can't help myself. I have to step in. She was like, well, I don't eat fruits or veggies. I'm not carnivore, but like basically just saying I eat a very processed diet and I'm fine. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't
What
mean
measurement is that? Yeah,
like,
that doesn't mean it's optimal.
like people do drugs and smoke and drink every day. And yeah, they're not dead, but it doesn't mean it's good for them. Like, obviously it's going to be more beneficial if you go about this a different way. So I was like, pump your brakes, like putting that narrative out into the world that just because you are alive and a functioning human without fruits and veggies means nobody
It's like
needs
people
it.
who say like, oh, well, I know a guy who lived to 100 and he drank whiskey every day. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
great.
you want a
He's
reason to drink
one
alcohol?
in
Like,
1 billion.
just because that one factor was part of his grand scheme, you're now saying the causation is that it's good for you? Like what? Like,
Yeah.
well, again, we're just looking for these self-confirming biases all the time.
Right. Yes,
So yeah,
that
I
was my
think
point.
calories
Yes, thank
in,
you.
calories in, calories out is major and or intensity. I may have covered this on last week's episode, but like, if you want to dig a foundation of a house, are you going to use a shovel or the tractor, right? Like the shovel's going to feel harder, but that doesn't mean you're going to get more done more effectively just because it feels harder. There are more effective ways
Like
to
the
program
best
your
analogy.
workouts. Yeah, you don't have to feel like you're dying all the time in a workout, and you don't have to do more and more and more to see effective results. We just have to turn up and down the right dials.
Have you ever seen the videos of like, I saw one recently of this little kid and he was running up to soccer practice and he's like threw his bag over the fence and he's like climbing over because he's in a rush and he's late and the parents were obviously like, get out of the car, come on. And he's climbing and he's fumbling and he's getting stuck on the fence. And then 2 seconds later, you see this guy and his kid like watching this kid walk through an opening in the fence, like 8 feet down.
Making
like,
it harder on yourself. What a
yeah,
great
like,
visual.
yes, you're going to get over the fence, but like, is that really how you want to go about it? Because the guy's like, okay, I'm just going to walk in.
Are
like,
you going to get hurt along the way?
Yeah.
Also, like, what are the consequences? I always bring that up when it's a weight loss journey, because people will be like, well, I lost so much weight. And it's like, okay, but now what have we done in terms of down regulation of your metabolism? How quick did it happen? Did you lose muscle along the way? Like, there's all these other factors that are going to impact the consequence on the other side of that fence, right? Yeah, no, I think that's a great one. I already kind of touched on this, but unlearning of physical movement patterns. We have a lot of women who have worked out for many, many, many years. A lot of them doing like high intensity type classes or like dumbbell type workouts at home, watching videos, or like, I don't know, F45 or body pump or insanity or whatever. And they're like, yeah, I know how to squat. And I'm like, that's cool. Let's still do a movement consultation. Like every client that I have, we do a Zoom consultation where I'm walking them through some of the big movement patterns. We're looking at their joints. We're looking at mobility. 9.9 out of 10 times, we're finding things that we can optimize. Even if you think your movement patterns are perfect, I'm a trainer who's been doing this for a long time. My movement patterns aren't perfect, right? There's always something that we can continue to work on. So I think unlearning those physical poor movement patterns is huge, because a lot of times it's frustrating. We have to go back and wait in order to do something well. Or again, a simple example is, let's say like an overhead press. Most people, I think most trainers teach stop at 90 degrees and then go back up. And it's like, okay, but like, wouldn't a full range of motion actually be more functional in just everyday life, right? So when I go and I teach a woman how to do a deeper, like descent in their overhead press, they have to go lighter with their weight. You're not going to be able to go as heavy as you would with a half range of motion. And that can mess with us mentally, ego wise, right? If I was used to hitting a PR in CrossFit during my deadlift, and I'm like, oh, no. I know I can deadlift 215 pounds. Okay, cool. It doesn't feel good when as your trainer, I'm like, hey, can we dial it back to just the bar for a little bit and practice our pattern? And eventually, guess what? You're going to be able to surpass whatever that max was. I guarantee you'll be able to surpass and not injure yourself. But it takes a little bit of discomfort and a little bit of putting our ego aside and what we knew aside to relearn something that we've been doing for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you know if there's something you need to unlearn? Obviously we can come at this from a very general place, or we can come at this from like a more fitness health place. But one of the things that I actually just had a conversation with my 12-year-old about recently is that like nothing frustrates me more than being around a person who's complaining about their environment or a lack of a result of anything, and they are not doing anything differently. So if you find yourself in a very like constantly negative headspace, or just like feeling like you're stuck in like a loop, or you're doing something over and over and wondering like, why is this not working, or this worked before, or whatever, I really like challenge you to like not only audit the things that you're doing, but audit like your thought pattern and your thought process around the thing, which, going back to that prompt in the beginning is really two things that you do. One, like a thought or an application, is like notice like where you're defensive about something, because that's often the belief that you need to let go of, right? So I say this to my husband all the time, and honestly, like Jess is like the female version of him in my life, where they're both very supportive in anything, but they're also constantly devil's advocating me, and not in a bad way, just like a kind of, sometimes my thought process needs to be challenged because I'm so gung-ho on something. Sometimes it's because it's just delusional bliss and I need to be brought down to reality for a second, but sometimes it's because I'm so annoyed about something and my husband's like, wait though, have you thought about this perspective? And I'll get so annoyed in the moment because I'm like, let me just be mad, and then later I'm like, oh, it was so logical, like I know that makes sense and I need to open my perspective about it. So if you find yourself defensive about something, a good example for me about that recently is like, in that specific scenario, what am I being defensive about? But also, how often am I getting defensive about things like that? And is that something I need to, like, what is it that I need to work on internally? Am I mad because I want to be right? Am I mad because of a certain situation that makes me feel a certain way? So like, I'm constantly challenging. This is like a lot of like shadow work things that I feel like we could do an episode on, but noticing your blind spots, right? So where are you defensive because
more triggered, or feeling like the victim mentality, or comparing, like all of those things are good signs.
One. Yeah. So that journal prompt is like, what belief are you holding on to because it feels safe or comfortable or typical for you, and even if it's holding you back. So those two things are really a great starting point for noticing when there's something that needs to be unlearned. They'll kind of open that door for you.
Yeah. And then if it comes to your health and fitness journey specifically, it will be I'm doing everything, but nothing's working, right? If you're going to the gym and you're always sore, but you're not getting any stronger, but like whatever the thing is, right? Oh yeah, well, yeah, that diet worked for me. Okay. But you keep gaining the weight back, right? If these results continue to not change, something's wrong in your equation of inputs, right? There's likely a more effective way or something that needs to be unlearned, because whatever that approach hasn't been working. Maybe we have to step out of our comfort zone and try something new, which is scary to trust, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
If you are used to restricting calories, but you still struggle with stubborn fat or sluggish energy, right? That's the person who's like, no, I just want to cut calories. No, I just want, and it's like, okay, but you've never actually spent time learning to maintain, learning to nourish your body. I bet we can get you feeling really good. And then next time you cut, you don't have to go so low, right? That's another one. feeling overwhelmed by conflicting advice without understanding the context. That's another one, right? A sign that you need to maybe unlearn something. And that's why we have this podcast, right? Is to try to give context to all of these things. We've probably already had an episode that not conflicts, but says, okay, here's the good thing about hormone testing. Here's why you probably don't need hormone testing, right? Almost everything, there's not a right or a wrong or black and a white. There's context to it. And if you can become educated on the why, then you can apply it appropriately to your life.
For sure. And then anything like, I had a client recently who is just very type A, meticulous. She's a teacher. I feel like a lot of our teachers fall into that category, just likes to like check the boxes. And the permission for her to let some things go and be more flexible was scary for her, because she's like, why though? Like, tell me what to do in this scenario. And I was like, my point is that there is no rule there. You can do whatever you want in this scenario, And she was like, she struggled with that initially because she's so used to that structure and that routine. And I was like, we have to break this mold a little bit so that you can live your life at some point. Like, it's okay to be tracking macros and to have these physique goals, and we're working through a gut protocol. But at some point, I want for you to feel confident in yourself to eat intuitively and live your life and be present and fuel your body in healthy ways and make good choices that serve you, right? And we're starting to practice a little bit of intuitive eating in her build phase, where she's having some free meals, and we're kind of touching base like after the fact of making a choice, like, did that serve me or did it not, and why? And initially she was a little nervous about it, and then she got really excited because she was like, now her type A personality has almost like a challenge that she can live up to, of like, how flexible can I be within reason? Of course, she's definitely not taking it too far. She's the perfect candidate for it. But it's just really cool to see clients like unravel those beliefs. And it's like, each time, like, it's hard to find evidence for something that you haven't practiced yet, which is why failing forward is very important, and why we tell clients that the most successful clients are the ones that screw up so many times in their journey with us, but they learn from each experience. And every like failure in air quotes isn't really a failure. It's just data, right? To tell us.
And you're adding tools to your toolbox every single time.
Exactly. And all these different scenarios that come up during a client's time with us. So now we're giving a client proof of, hey, this situation, you didn't handle it how you wanted to. Let's look at where we can optimize and try it again later. And then now they have that confirmation of, I can actually do this. And that was way simpler than I thought, right? And now they're finding evidence.
Yeah.
They have that little glimmer of belief that's like starting to click for this new pattern that serves them. And now they're going to start looking for that confirmation bias in a healthy way. And then that pattern
start building
is so much
on it.
easier to implement.
And I think there's like the opposite case too. So like the example you just gave, we see a lot of people who are like, have to be perfect. They have to have everything right. And we are unwinding that belief where it's like, hey, you can be flexible. You can enjoy stuff you love, whatever. We also have the clients, I think, who are like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's been 6 months. I get it. I know how to maintain on my own. And it's like, okay, logically, I do believe that you get it. Behaviorally, though, we're not getting more than one workout a week, or you haven't started going to sleep before 1
Yeah, I know you know what you should do, but you're not doing it.
Right. So if you know everything logically, but you're still not implementing a thing, that's another sign that maybe there's habits that need to be unlearned and unwind and changed so that the thing you know becomes your new norm. Once it becomes your new norm, okay, now you really know the thing. Just because you know it logically doesn't do anything for you in terms of physical outcomes and how you feel and your health results, right? So I think that it goes kind of both ways, where sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we have a woman that we partner with, and she's like a somatic therapist. And she has popped in and out of coaching with us. And she's like, yeah, I know what I got to do. And we were just chatting the other day, and I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I know you know what you have to do, but you've never actually stuck to it long enough to learn those tools.
Not actually
like,
a habit.
What roadblocks are coming up in your life that are preventing you from doing it? That's what we're going to learn together, right? And she's like, oh yeah, you're right. I guess that is true. Like, just like she works through that with relearning people's thought patterns, we are working through that with relearning like actual routines and creating systems around those new choices that we want. And again, every single tool is so unique for each person.
funny you say that. I just had this like epiphany about myself recently, but like being a fitness professional and having worked out all of these years, last year I had to take several months off for recovery from surgeries. And I found myself in this point of like, I work really hard. Like I don't look as fit as I feel like I should. And then it's funny, I'm back finally after like surgery, recovery, moving across the country, whatever, to lifting consistently, intentionally with progressive overload, eating enough protein, eating a ton of food, and I'm seeing very fast changes. And it's funny, I had this epiphany recently where I was like, oh my God, I thought I was so worthy of a result that I was not even implementing the things that I needed to have that result. Like I don't just get fit and I'm just done. Like I checked a box because I worked out before. So I even caught myself in a little bit of that trap where I was like, oh, I really had the expectation of something more when I was not doing what was going to get me what I thought I should have. I said that in a really crazy way, but anyway, I fall into that too, right? And I think it's important to kind of like have that awareness for yourself. So in terms of like getting to that point of challenging that thought process and that mindset, we talk about auditing a lot. Auditing is so important because when I looked back over the last 8 to 12 months, I was like, my number of workouts are piss poor compared to what my expectation is. Auditing is really powerful. Like I have a client recently who's very social, always changing her goal. And she was mad one day, like in a check-in, like I am not getting results from this. And I was like, hey, I've been trying to support you through this, but like, I'm going to show you exactly what the last 10 weeks of this air quotes deficit look like. And when I sent it to her and she saw that data in writing, black and white, nothing she could argue because it's what she did or didn't do, she was like, oh, shit. Like, I cannot believe I thought I was checking all the boxes. And I was like, you have not had one single consistent week of hitting these things, these targets that we set based on the pace that you said you wanted to get this result at, right? So auditing is really powerful. Progress pictures, measurements, like don't just say I'm doing everything and it's not working, because so often clients will sign up and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought I was doing everything right. Or I can't believe I thought I was eating healthy. Or I can't believe I thought I was eating 150 grams of protein. I only eat 80 a day, right? Like data awareness is going to help you check yourself quite easily.
And it's going to build confidence. Again, it's like us showing the data of, look, your inches haven't increased at all. And they're like, oh, whoa, okay, I guess the scale isn't that scary, right? So it can also validate those new beliefs that are starting to become ingrained because you start to see the data behind it. When you're doing this auditing, this is kind of off topic, but when you're doing this auditing and you're kind of setting up goals for yourself in terms of your inputs, break it down into the smallest possible task that you can, and then build on those tasks, as opposed to saying, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds, right? It's like, okay, I want to get to the gym 2 days a week for the next month. Great. Once that becomes a norm, add a third day in, right? You want to break it down and then be really consistent with your inputs, with your tasks. We're focusing on the inputs, not the outcomes. Again, that builds your confidence in that thing too, because you start to realize you can do hard things that you thought you couldn't do. And before you know it, 2 years from now, you're a totally different person, but it's now your norm. It's not an all or nothing thing. So master the basics is our next practical step. So 1 is kind of like challenging and using data. 2, master the basics. So I'm always talking about this with strength training, your foundational movements, your squats, your deadlifts, your pushes, your pulls, right? Get really stinking good at them and then just get stronger within them, which can be boring, but boring sometimes is very effective. But same goes for the basics of, if your average steps are 4,000 a day, see if you can get 6,000 a day or even 5,000 a day, right? Build. You don't need to go from 5,000 to 10,000 a day, right? Like just build on the basics first, and then you're going to be able to layer in more and more habits from there. And then in terms of unlearning with fitness and nutrition, another big one is just upgrading your philosophy, okay, from restriction to fueling, from adding nutrient-dense foods as opposed to cutting things out. We always talk about what are we going to add, and oftentimes what ends up happening is body composition starts to change, and there's a lot of different factors and reasons for this, right? Sometimes if you add more food, you're simply, or more whole foods and proteins and fibers, you're simply more full. So you accidentally eat less calories without even realizing it because you're full. Sometimes it is a matter of, okay, I'm adding muscle mass and now my body burns more calories all the time because I've put on this muscle from strength training, right? There's so many different reasons, but usually adding the good stuff, adding strength, adding protein, adding fiber, adding plants, adding water tends to yield really good side effects physique wise, whether you're tracking or not.
Yeah. And I mean, we always talk about addition over subtraction, which I think is a huge shift for a lot of women that get to that point. But it's really, and I kind of already touched on this, but knowing that it's not going to be perfect, that you're going to fail, because if you don't go in with that thought process of like, I'm not going to be perfect, using these hiccups or whatever you want to call them as data for like, how can I optimize and be better and continue to move forward in this path, on this path that I want to go, embracing that, because then you're not so on edge. Because I feel like sometimes people are so edgy and so eager to prove something is failing that one little blip, they'll be like, see, this doesn't work, right? And they throw in the towel, and it's like, you're doing yourself a massive disservice by just tapping out at the slightest inconvenience or lack of perfection. Like nothing is ever going to be linear, especially when you're learning a new skill or unlearning something. So I think that's—
And that just puts you back in that loop that you were in before.
Yeah,
like it gets you nowhere.
That is the thing that you need to get pissed off at. That's where you should get triggered, because that is that thought process, that thing that you're doing, that retraction as soon as it's inconvenient is the thing that you need to let go of, and the thing that you need more awareness around. Like that is part of what you have to unlearn, is embracing what we have written as the messy middle. Just knowing it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be linear. It's like a kid riding a bike. Would you ever put your child on a bike and expect them to just pedal and ride off into the sunset? No, they're going to fall. You want knee pads. They want a helmet. They're going to fall. They're going to fumble. They don't understand when to put their foot down, how to take off properly initially. Like that's the whole point of training wheels. It's not any different as an adult learning a new skill, but somehow we expect perfection because we are of the time frame in 2025 with AI and so many things at our fingertips that we think it should just be instant, or else if it's inconvenient, I don't want it, because things are so—
Or we think like, I think sometimes what it is that because everybody eats and because everybody moves, they think that they're an expert at those two things. Or like everybody thinks that they have a right to be an expert. I don't know that if I talk to family members about this sometimes, because it's like, if it were any other profession, would I be like having a dinner table conversation about a TikTok I saw about, well, actually the best legal practice is to do blah, 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 blah. Or no, because I'm not educated in that space just because I saw one TikTok, right? I think with food and exercise, a lot of people, again, think they are doing the best thing because they've
dieted before.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, just because you lost weight once doesn't mean that you actually know the best way to do it and keep it off. Have you ever kept it off? So I think qualifying, like, where are you getting your guidance from? And, how long are you keeping the
correlation, not causation?
Does that person who's giving you the advice have healthy habits themselves? Are they able to maintain it, or are they on this yo-yo roller coaster and just dishing before and after pictures every 2 years when they lose the weight again, but then they gain it back in between? Like, who are we taking advice from here? It takes time. Like when we're doing this right, when we are unlearning correctly, right? It takes falling. It takes reframing it. It takes actually embodying it and practicing the new thing until you actually believe it. And then guess what? Again, I'm saying this, and it's most people are like, oh, I don't want to hire a coach for 2 years. Our most successful clients graduate after a year or two. And they are then at that place where they truly understand it. They've truly been through every phase. They are truly maintaining it. And it's their new habit and it's their new lifestyle. And now it's not a hard new thing. Now they're just living this healthy lifestyle and in this new physique. And then it ripple effects too, which is pretty cool. Like, okay, I was bragging in our internal chat, like with all of our clients yesterday, about this one client who a year ago was like, I don't cook. I'm never going to cook. I don't like it. And now she's like, hand making things from scratch that I wouldn't even dream of cooking. And she's delivering them to her neighbors. And it's all colorful Whole Foods. And she's like, I can't believe I said I would never try this. I love it. And it's like, you don't know what you're capable of until you actually try it. And now she has this confidence where she's like, well, maybe I'll try this new workout, or maybe I'll go for, and it's like the confidence from your own data that you've collected about, wow, I'm more capable than I thought I would, ends up rippling into these other areas of your life and kind of translating into success in other things too. So,
yeah. And it's just, you want to build on those beliefs, but I think the best piece of advice I could give when you're learning a new skill or unlearning old things and trying to make that shift is to be curious. I think is a good way to put it. So like
Mhm.
go in with like open and fun, like you're exploring a new city or you're doing something exciting. Like you wouldn't go in and be like on a vacation that you booked in a location you planned and be like, this is going to suck. It's going to be boring. We're going to hate this. You probably, and if you did go into a vacation like that, like yeah, you probably have other things to address, but you wouldn't do that. Right. So, but then so often we go into like a fitness or a health journey like that because we've had previous negative experiences. And think this is going to suck, this isn't going to work, this is X, Y, and Z, whatever. And everyone, we say this a lot, everyone always thinks they're the anomaly, right? That like actual protein and consistent strength training and getting sleep and getting off your phone, more fiber, all these things. So often we think we're the anomaly and those things don't work, but you've never, if you think that in your head right now, I hope you're triggered because you've probably never done those things consistently for long enough for you to say that, because if you did, it would yield what you were looking for. So being curious and not being so like defensive with this wall up or this skepticism, like I think we lose that a lot. Like and that could be a whole other episode, but like
Yeah, we get old and grumpy.
Adulthood, yeah, like we become skeptics and we're so negative about things. Like just have fun,
arrogant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like a specific example for me was guided meditation and like yoga, which I was like, this is so stupid. I work out hard. Like, why would I waste an hour just sitting still? And Brett had first learned about meditation for baseball, where he like heard somebody who basically said, basically to be the best hitter of all time, you have to like learn to turn your brain off, but without falling asleep. Because if you can be that present, you're going to be able to hit the ball, whatever. Right. So he's trained himself to do this over the course of years. And I'm like, you're full of it. I can't not think. I'm always going to have these racing thoughts all the time because this is what I've always known. Right. And I was in this Tibetan yoga class in college just to get an exercise science credit and check it off during like a winter semester or whatever. And it was these 2-hour intensives and it was horrible. Like for me, I was like, I'm going to sit here and listen to this hippie lady tell me about chakras. Like, are you kidding me? After about a month or two, it changed my nervous system, right? Like just doing the thing changed my belief because I realized like, whoa, I'm less anxious. I sleep better now. Like it actually did slow my brain down. I learned how to turn off my brain. It's a practice. Right now, I'm not in that place because I haven't been practicing it. I'd probably have to get back into a routine of it, right? But whoa, these people actually knew what they were talking about in terms of some of the health benefits. And I just poo-pooed it because I know what I know, right? So we have this this limited belief based on our own experience. How much other experience is there in the entire world that you don't know, right? We only know what we know. So anyway, I just like that example because I feel like that was I was in those shoes, and now I work with women every day who don't believe me when I say you're not going to get bulky from muscle, or I promise I can get you to eat more and enjoy food and not restrict. And they're like, yeah, right. What do you eat? And then I show them, and they're like, no way, you don't eat. Like, right? So anyway, just like, yeah, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's really it. Hopefully that was some clarity on unlearning, but be curious, journal, check yourself where you see maybe some triggers coming up. Basically, anytime I'm triggered about something, I'm like, why do I feel that way?
Why am I so triggered by the word triggered?
Yeah.
That's what I need to know.
I can't remember what the topic was. I'm sure it was very silly, but I actually remember texting Jess about something not long ago and being like, this bugs me and I wish this didn't bug me and I don't know why this bugs me. And we started talking about that situation, and I was like, I'm annoyed at myself that I'm even bothered by this thing. And it's the same, like I do this a lot with, my husband. So I think it's important. I mentioned like my workout situation, and, I think like Jess said, it's like, we know we need to work out 3 days a week, and we know it so well. We know hormones so well. We know all of these. I know I need to eat fiber. So often the disconnect is, you logically know those things are going to get you the result, but you're not actually doing them. You've collected the information and everything you need, but you haven't implemented any of it. So I challenge you to audit yourself and look at, what are you actually doing? Because thinking about it and doing it are two very different things. And then the other side of that is getting results and keeping results are also two very different things. We can get results in terms of health and fitness and weight loss a lot of different ways, but is that approach going to keep you in a place mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually healthy?
Not relying on dieting all the time or
Right,
on
to where
whatever
you
the latest
actually
fad
can
is. Or
maintain and feel good
Yeah.
forever.
when you get injured, you're not gaining weight back in a second because you missed the gym this week. Like,
Yes.
is your metabolism actually working for you? Like, all those things are factors that we consider.
Yes. So that is the power of unlearning. So that is all that we have for today. Hope that was helpful, and we will see you guys next time.